Now let's move to the next talk. In this occasion will be Professor Michael Renier from ECQA, a certification company based in Austria. And he will give a talk regarding the European certification. So I give the floor to Professor Michael. So the floor is yours.
Thanks. Many thanks. Well, welcome, ladies and gentlemen. The idea is to give you a short overview about kind of the certification in Europe and in example what the ECQA is doing here. So please bear in mind that there is no such thing as dumb questions. So whenever you have a question, just ask the question, because everything that might be clear for me might not be clear for you. So for our part, the idea where these ideas are coming from are a very basic idea. So the typical problem that is addressed by the industry is that quite often participants are going to trainings, and every training is issuing a different kind of certificate, or that the participations get certificates locally, and the different regions or countries all over Europe have different kind of topics, specializations, and kind of certifications or kind of evidences that they give to their participants after their trainings. So the problem is, if it comes to the industry, and this is the part where the jobs are, it is always problematic to compare these kind of participation certificates or evidence certificates or uploaded assessments. So what is typically a solution? Well, the Europe-wide acceptance of a single scheme is normally the one that you're aiming for. So the industry knows what they are in need of. That means what skills other people are in need of. What is it that the people need to know, or what is it that they need to be able to do? The trainings institution, on the other hand, know what they want to train for and how to train. So to get to a Europe-wide exam and the Europe-wide certification, it is important that a lot of people from different kind of regions, countries all over Europe connect to each other, and then think about in their domain, for example, here for the TERRATECH project, in that domain of agricultural and intellectual IT part. So this is the part where the single certification for all countries is appearing then. And this can be done over different kind of ways. The one way is by combining different kind of universities, where the universities do such things as double degrees or accept a combined degree for different kind of topics. This is quite a very problematic way, because for those institutions of higher education to work together and agree on a double degree, or even 3 universities to work together, it is kind of complicated. So another thing that we need to keep in mind is that the European Commission has a very good database, which is named ECQA, where you can kind of check for your skill occupation and have a matrix in there linking occupations and skill groups. This is a really brilliant starting point. The problem is, if we think about what is in there, for example, if we check for the occupation of the farm manager, for every occupation in there, you can dig deeper and deeper, and for every occupation, there's kind of a part for essential skills and competences. The problem is, if you check out these essential skills and competences, these are typically described as in a very basic manner. So to go more into detail and to explain these more, you need the last step, which is typically done at higher education institutions or vocational education institutions. Means you have to define for those skill levels different kind of learning objectives or performance criteria to define this, because the evaluation of development of new technologies can be quite a variety. So knowing about them or even kind of applying them. So for the idea here, the ECQA is doing kind of such a thing for kind of different kind of job roles already, we evolved out of an association which currently holds about 40 members and 23 different European countries. We have roughly 30 different kind of job roles or job professions which we are certifying, and out of this we generated the ECQA Limited, which was done in 2015. So the idea here also is for every of these job professions to go deeper by declaring which units are needed within such a job profession, what are the elements within the units, and define the performance criteria or learning objectives, as I said, because if you check out for the ESCO level, so the European official level, it quite often ends at unit or element level. So you need this agreement all over Europe to be consistent also with the European quality framework, and to later on, if you do exams based on this skill mapping or skill card as we use it, the European quality framework foresees that if you pass certain elements or certain units, you should be not having a need to do them again. So what we typically have in kind of projects as well as within the ECQA, you have kind of input by science, industry, or education based on the job roles, means on the specification of the skill card, down going on the unit element and learning objectives. You typically have kind of within this, you have training organizations and exam organizations, which according to a person certification based on ISO 17024 should be separated. That means the person giving the training is not allowed to do the exam. And we have the industry or kind of people being interested taking these trainings and the exams. And then you have a position like the ECQA or other certification organizations that then provide the certificate to the people if they successfully pass the exams. In here, for ways for working with such an organization like we are, is, as I said, you need the training organizations giving the trainings. You need certified trainers to be aware of kind of the level that you are in need of, and you need certified exam providers or exam bodies that are suitable for giving the exams or holding the exams. Basically, a typical exam portal normally has kind of multiple choice questions, multiple response questions. Sometimes it's upload of evidence, assessments, free text insertion, or a kind of hotspot ranking. And in quite a few times, and nowadays, it's more and more important to also have an online proctoring system, which guarantees that the person taking the exam is also the one who kind of, on the one hand, did the training and who claims to be the person. So we have two different kind of exam portals, and both of them are capable of all these things. Why? Well, the multiple choice and multiple response are the most common ones in these kind of certification schemes because they're quite easy to correct. But if it comes to a little bit more practical approach, so if you want to check if the people have the not only the theoretical but also the practical knowledge, you need to have kind of an upload of evidences, of assessments, of more details, kind of additional exam positions like an oral exam, and to put all these together to be in the position of granting the certification here. For the ECQA, we additionally have found a nice option because, as I said in the beginning, it's quite problematic for universities or higher education institutions to do double or triple degrees. What about 4 or 5 universities joined together? So the problem is not so much to agree on a curriculum, but the problem is to hand out kind of the final document, means the label of passing to the different kind of agreements that you have to fulfill. So one solution here from our knowledge about from other projects is, for example, we are checking out with the agreement of higher education institutions as well as vocational education institutions the level that is needed. We are either offering the exams by ourselves, or even checking for the upload of the evidences of past courses. And we accept those by accepting of prior learning. And we add the label of industry to the certificates so that the participants not only get the kind of certificate or the final document from their higher education institution, but also an additional one from the ECQA that has the labels of the industry on it, which then shows that those people are needed and that the industry recognizes the given skills or acquired knowledge parts. So basically the ECQA, and this is only an example for different kind of certification bodies all over Europe, is an international certification provider for job roles. And we are currently adding micro certifications to this and are linking this to kind of platforms like the Europass or LinkedIn. We are industry and higher education driven. That means a lot of our job roles are having inputs from higher education institutions as well as from industry. Said that, we are regularly updating the skill cards that we have. Why? Because we are seeing that if the need changes, the skill card, and by this also the certification has to change. These experts are gathered in the focus groups, means communities, where the people are looking at the kind of skill parts or even the learning objectives and discuss with industry if this is really needed or if the need has changed. And we are by this involved in very different European projects and different kind of parts, like the automotive part, the technical part, the accessibility part, as well as terminology part or green parts, so green deals. For us, we are part of different kind of European projects like current and past projects. This is only a very short list of different projects where we're currently in, and where we are gathering not only information, but using kind of skills blocks and kind of these kind of chunks that we can then put together for kind of this certification. Additionally, ECQA is also an official certification body for INTEX, which is the big assessor association all over Europe, which is doing the ISO 15504, ISO 20000 or test spice. We're not doing the automotive spice as a certification because this is done by the VDA. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask. As I said, the ECQA is run by myself and Dr. Andreas Rehl from Grenoble. We are kind of situated in Austria, but we are doing kind of our jobs and certifications all over Europe. And if you have questions, I'm happy to answer this.
Thank you very much, Professor Renier.
You're welcome.
Thanks for joining us in our workshop. If there's any question, please.
Albert, if I may.
Sure.
Michael, thank you for a clear presentation. Just one, I don't know, it's a question or idea, just pop in, because I already also attended one of these courses, or at the EU level, this Interhead, you know, quality assurance in Brussels. But is there any, let's say, European certification for company training and education sort of things? I mean, because of the needs, you know, the new developments, like what we do in TERRATECH, to have more practical education. Is there any developments in this area recent? Because you know more than me, at least.
From my knowledge, we have to differentiate between the people certification, so certifying people by their skills and knowledges, and certification of companies. So the certification of companies and the practical approach of companies and how they, for example, deal with the people, and this is typically done by other authorities like TÜV or any other kind of official parts. If it comes to people knowledge, and you said the practical part, yes, we, for example, in the cultural heritage part, we do have a very strong issue with the applied knowledges. So if somebody kind of doing wooden floor tiles in historic houses and he only knows by theory, that wouldn't be enough. So we need to make sure that there a large practical aspect is also done. The problem there is much more in the field of digitalization of the given kind of informations, because well, if you listen to somebody explaining to you how to do kind of concrete of the 15th, 16th century and how it was done, it's easy to understand. But doing it by yourself and doing it by your own hands and feeling it, and you need to have this feedback. And I'm very much into virtual reality and augmented reality. The good part is it doesn't help us here. So we are giving tries and ideas of how to do that. But the experts are widely spread all over the world, and quite often really good experts in these fields are really, really hard to find.
Yeah.
And that is one of the major problems. And then if you find them, to get them to teach parts and not necessarily online, but on site, that is always a problem, as far as I know.
Right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Michael, if I
Yes.
understood well, the certification is more to not the certification is given by the universities, but ECQA is given the certification for a given profession, or as requested by the industry. You are certificating people for a given job.
Yes.
Am I correct?
That's right. So we are basically checking out for the skills needed for a proper job. That's one of the reasons why we name job roles. But quite often these job roles consist of units, like a unit for project management, for example, because we mainly focus quite often on management job roles. And some of these parts are the same in different kind of job roles. So they are exchangeable or even kind of addable to other knowledge parts. That's one of the reasons why we think that these kind of new ideas, well, it's not that new, but these ideas of micro certifications are coming in quite handy, because if you go to a kind of an advisory board or an automated advisor, say, well, listen, I have a certification for this chunk and for this one and for this one. What is a typical job that I can do with it? And then you're advised to, well, if you do a little bit more in that one or a little bit more in that kind of direction, then you could go for that and that job. So I think that's the part that also is prompted by ESCO. So if you check out kind of what skills you have, the ESCO database is quite nice for prompting out which jobs may come into your kind of direction if you add kind of other qualification parts, and not necessarily only qualification parts of higher education institutions, but for example, vocational education. And this is always the case where it depends on the depth that the experts are defining, because understanding kind of blockchain and programming a blockchain is something completely different than applying a blockchain, for example, for IT needs. Both might be listed under blockchain skills, and that's the thing that I wanted to point out. Okay.
It seems that Ruth's connection, I don't know if it's working. I think that not. I hope that.
Michael.
Yes.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much for the presentation. Just a small question, if you don't mind.
Sure.
Does the certificate valid for the whole the EU countries?
Yes, we are certifying not only in the European Union, as much as it was generated out of a European project, which is already more than 12 years ago. We are doing the certifications of the ECQA all over the world. So we have certifications done in India, in Japan, in China, in Mexico. So we are, the funny part is, to be honest, we thought about, about the ECDL and the ICDL. And we were thinking about having the ECQA with the ECQA certificate in Europe and having ICQA, so international certification and qualification all over the world. But the funny part is that the selling point in the world is the E, so the European. And that means that the people wanting to come to Europe to work here, they are looking for European certifications. And people with European certifications going outside of Europe are very well accepted all over the world.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Seems that not. Again, Professor Renier, thank you very much for accepting the invitation and for this nice presentation regarding this certification in Europe. That it's really interesting for our project and also for the rest of possible attendants in this workshop. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure. Many thanks.
So right now we have another invited speaker that will join us at 5 p.m. So in 40 minutes more or less. So let's take a break and let's connect in this 40 minutes in order to have our last invited speaker, Vincent Lefebvre from ECQA, Italy. So let's join again in here in 40 minutes. See you in a while.